Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. We get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. I know, can't believe I had to think about that. Happy Tuesday. We're on Tuesday, and I got a good one for you today. I figure since this is the Aloha Perspective, we should probably do a little bit of Aloha stuff every so often. So yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. Sorry, I'm having issues with my hair this morning, so you're just going to get whatever this is. You're going to get whatever this is, so tired of messing with it today. But anyway, so okay. I'm sorry. I know you're all like, well, I did not come on this show to watch you fix your hair. So I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. Anyway. Anyway, there we go. All the hair, the big forehead. So I know, now that I've drawn your attention to my shiny noggin. So I know, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm telling you, my brain has just not been very cooperative this week. I know. So anyways, we're going to talk about Winona Beamer, who informally and affectionately went by Aunty Nona. And yeah, so let's get rolling. Good morning, older sibling. Good. I'm pretty sure Muddy's on, even though she's not showing it yet. So born on August 15th. Oh, look, her birthday was like a week ago, 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, a couple Saturdays ago. Born on August 15th, 1923. Good morning, Muddy. And the mother of Keola and Kapono Beamer, who are very well-known Hawaiian musicians who I knew of growing up, but I had no idea how much of an impact their mom made. Well-known Hawaiian musicians, Winona, formerly known as Aunty Nona, was a strong figure in her own right, and she helped change the face of a very well-known Hawaiian institution. Now, let's get to it. So, Aunty Nona. Kamehameha Schools was built for Hawaiian children. In 1937, it threw out Kamehameha Schools was built for Hawaiian children. In 1937, it threw one out for moving her hands while she chanted. She was a ninth grader named Winona Beamer. At a Friday afternoon trustees' tea in the campus pink garden, she chanted the Oli Aloha, and her hands began to move with it, the way her family had taught her. The principal stood up in front of everyone. Winona, you pack your bags. She carried her bag all the way down to the gate, fuming. The school took her back within a week. The administrators had a word for her: willful. Most people never forgive the place that shamed them in the ninth grade. In 1949, Nona Beamer walked back through that gate as a teacher, and the first thing she asked for was Princess Pauahi's will, the document the whole school stood on. She read it. No ban on the language, no ban on the dances, nothing. They lied to me. They lied to me all those years. So she taught what... I'm so sorry, guys, my brain. So she taught what the will never forbade. In the mid-1950s, her classroom was a dorm laundry room, washing machines running, the air smelling of soap and Clorox. Boys walked up from the boys' school just to squeeze in a lesson. She stayed nearly 40 years, and in April 1965, Kamehameha students ended a school show with the last dance performed standing, Kaulana Napua, and the band that sent a ninth grader to the gate began to fall. And then came 1997. The trust behind Kamehameha had grown to roughly $10 billion, called the wealthiest charity in America. Its 5 trustees were paying themselves around $900,000 a year each. And trustee Lokilani Lindsay ran the campus on fear. Teachers went silent, afraid for their jobs. Students went silent, afraid for their scholarships. An accreditation evaluator later put it in writing, a pervasive climate of fear. Nona Beamer was 73, retired, far from the campus and its politics. There was nothing left they could take from her. On May 3rd, 1997, she sent a letter to the Honolulu Advisor, and the paper printed it, calling Lindsay's grip on the campus an utterly diabolical plan of a self-serving egoist, and calling on the Hawaii Supreme Court, which appointed the trustees, to remove her. It was the first public break of 1997. One retired teacher against the most powerful board on the islands. 12 days later, hundreds of Kamehameha alumni, parents, and students marched 3 miles from Mauna Ala, where Pauahi rests, to the Trust's own headquarters. 2 abreast, lined up by graduating class, starting with the class of 1940, the class 1 year ahead of her own. Trustees watched them arrive and wrote down names. Staff took some 200 photographs of the marchers. That was the estate's answer to its own people. We had said to our students, we speak up, we can do no less ourselves. Every ohana here has one kapuna like her, the one who finally says out loud the thing everyone else only whispers. Then the dam broke. That August, 5 respected island leaders published Broken Trust, and the essay shook the state. The Attorney General investigated. The IRS delivered an ultimatum to the trustees, trustees go, or the school's tax protection goes. On May 6, 1999, a judge removed Lokelani Lindsay with a 2-paragraph order, the first trustee removed in the estate's 114-year history. By December, all 5 were gone. Nona Beamer lived to see all of it. She died on April 10, 2008 in Lahaina at 84, and the trust she defended now stands at $15.2 billion, run for one purpose: educating Hawaiian children, children who chant, children who dance standing up on campus in front of everyone. She asked one question her whole life: what did Pauahi actually want? It was never the money, it was never the silence, it was the children. Kamehameha once sent Winona Beamer to the gate with her bag. She came back and spent 60 years guarding what the school was really for. Some people protect an institution, Nona Beamer protected its children. So first and foremost, I apologize for flubbing that. Aunty Nona. This is Aunty Nona. Look at her. Look at that cute smile, right? Just so happy. I love it. But, so that's Aunty Nona. She died in Maui. That's where Lahaina is, for those of you who don't know. So, the thing is, when I first saw this, I was like, ooh, that's very inspirational. And not only that, you know, it's Hawaiian. So, hey, let's talk about it, because this is the Aloha Perspective, and we should probably give some Hawaiian figures the credit they're due for all that they've given back to the islands. Sorry, my mouth is so dry. Anyways, so when you look at her, though, there's something major that I think a lot of us are really not seeing, and how inspirational she can be in the time that we really live in right now. This is a woman who stood up to an entire institution. You know, first she did it by fuming, by going to the gates, and, you know, when they tried to kick her out of school. Next, she did it by protecting its legacy from people who were really kind of just, I mean, come on, $1 million a year to guard a trust that's not even, you know, for you. You're supposed to be, you know, watching it, looking after it, making sure that the children of Hawaii get the education they need. So, here's the thing. Camp school may seem a bit, it's a very private school. And by private, I mean you have to have, I believe, a Hawaiian bloodline to be able to go to this school. And you have to have lineage in Hawaii to be able to go to this school, which for a lot of kids may not seem fair, because, I mean, you know, they grow up in Hawaii, and I don't know if that's changed, but when I was growing up, that was absolutely the case. And it was meant to teach the children of Hawaiian lineage, not just education, but there were also classes that teach you to carry on the tradition of Hawaii and all of the cultural traditions that go with it. In 5th grade, I had the opportunity, well, right before 5th grade, I think you had to be 11 or 12. I can't remember what the age was, but for that particular age, every year, camp school would run a week-long camp for children who do, you know, all over, you know, not just, you know, from Hawaii, but also around the nation, around the world. And you just kind of converged with all your other Hawaiians. And they taught you everything. I mean, obviously it wasn't education, like, you know, math, science, whatever. They taught us, you know, the culture. We made our own Hawaiian implements, our musical implements, which my mom got rid of mine. Seriously, I made that. I made an ipu, which is a gourd, and you gore it so that, you know, you take all the stuff out, and you know, we shellacked it, we put our designs on it if we wanted to, and with the top part we actually made a holder, and it could be a plant holder if you wanted it to be, but actually what it was for is these holders, when you would get the kukui nut, which is a nut that's in Hawaii. In fact, they have kukui leis. If you ever see somebody in Hawaiian dress and they have a lei that looks like just black seeds, like black balls on black balls on there, it's those are kukuis. So those are kukui nut leis. But if you cut them in half and you open them, they actually have oil inside, and you can light them. So that was, you know, it held the light, or again, you can make it a planter. And the ipu was, you know, we made our own instruments to perform the song that we were given for the last night that we were there, the night we go home, for our show. And the weird thing is, I still remember the song all of us sang. I don't remember the Hawaiian song we sang, but I remember the song that the whole group of us sang at the beginning and at the end. Or was it the end? No, it was the end. The song, the whole camp sang at the end. It was a little rough for me. I was very shy, and I was not, I mean, after my first day, I made a lot of friends. You know, we went canoeing. We beat the boys. And the boys had more people in their canoe too, by the way. We had lost 2 girls, but, you know, we were very determined, and we know how to follow directions. So we beat them in a canoe race, which was fun. I mean, I've never gone that fast in something that I powered on my own. When I went to Disneyland, I did the canoes, and the guys, "Oh, you're very good at this." Like, yeah, I've had practice. But, oh, Muddy says, "I have one of the leis. My brother brought it to me years ago when he visited Hawaii." Ooh, that's so cool. That is so cool. I do love them. I used to have one here. I think I have one at home too. My dad definitely has a few. But yeah, and I like those because they last, right? They're not going to be like a Hawaiian lei that you get, the flower lei that you get when you leave. Now, the flower leis, you can dry them. You just hang them and let them dry themselves, and they will dry out. So it is kind of a memento, but you know, we all know how flowers get when they're dry. They're very testy, right? You accidentally bump into it and the whole thing crumbles, like, you know, it's 1,000 years old. So the kukui nut leis are very, very good. For that. What am I looking at? Souvenirs. So anyways, I always get pens, believe it or not. For all the times I've been there, people still go there and bring me back pens. I love it, but wow. But anyway, so that being said, yeah, so, but the interesting thing is, I thought, you know, it's like, yeah, it's a school for Hawaiians. It's a school for us to learn our culture. It was very fun that week to learn our culture. We learned, you know, I mean, we were basically, I mean, it was dorm life for a week, and, you know, you met all your friends. You even got a little book that, you know, that was your workbook, and everybody signed it and all that. And I think I have mine somewhere, but then I read this and I was like, wow. She kept this institution going. Now, I don't know how long Lokalani Lindsay was in charge, because I went back in 1984. So yeah, it was between 4th grade and 5th grade. So I went back in 1984. And, you know, so again, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My brain is just squirreling so hard right now. And, I mean, literally, you guys, while I was reading, the reason I kept flubbing it up was because the words just didn't make any sense to me. Good morning, Paula. So anyways, beautiful girl, how are you doing? So anyways, yeah, so what I like about her is that she shows us how to fight for things. You know, she reminds us to fight for what is right. You know, to fight against injustice, to fight against people who are willing to take advantage, the governments that are willing to take advantage of all of us, you know. And she, you know, she went fuming to the gate. Now, I didn't read the whole thing, because there was more to this and her story and why they took her back. And it was kind of like, let me see if I can find it. But I love her because she reminds us who we are. And let's see. Wow. She also attended Colorado's Women's College, Barnard College, and Columbia University studying anthropology. She's credited with coining the term Hawaiiana as early as 1948. Oh, that's the year my mommy was born. So yeah, it's not saying a lot about see, this is one of the reasons why she spoke up in 1997. In 1997, indignant at proposals to cut Hawaiian curriculum from Kamehameha schools, Beamer became the catalyst for public protest and legal investigation into Bishop Estate management, which eventually led to the removal or resignation of the trustees. How do you do that? Seriously? This is a school that is there to teach Hawaiian curriculum. That is the whole point of this school. Palahi was a princess. She was, I believe, don't quote me on this, the granddaughter of of King Kamehameha, I believe, or something like that. She was a Hapa kid like me. Her father was a Caucasian. Her mom was Hawaiian. But yeah, I mean, like I said, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I am correct. Not 100%. But anyways, so she, yeah, so here's more on it. Nona Beamer had been the Hawaiian culture instructor at the Kamehameha schools when the curriculum became in danger of being cut. She wrote a May 1997 letter to the Hawaii Supreme Court expressing her concerns and asking for the resignation of trustee Lokalani Lindsay. Beamer became the catalyst for a groundswell that led to an investigation of the Cam School's Bishop Estate Trust. Her letter resulted in a public outcry over the management of the estate trust. In November 1997, Beamer joined Isabella Aona Abbott, Gladys A. Brandt, Roderick F. McPhee, and Winona Ellis Rubin in releasing a public statement calling for the removal of Lindsay from the Kamehameha School's Bishop Estate. The statement was published in the Honolulu Star Bulletin as part of its coverage of the investigation into the management of the trust. The investigation led to an investigation by the Hawaii Attorney General, a reorganization of the trust, and the resignation of Lindsay. Now, there's a woman, Lokalani, that is obviously a Hawaiian name. Seriously, how do you turn against your own people? I mean, I have, this actually runs in my family that this happened. My great-great-grandmother was married to an African-American man. And so he's my great-great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandmother, she's a kupihea. Her father, my great-great-great-grandfather, was actually very prominent as an ali'i in the court, like the royal court and whatnot. Wrote books. I'm learning all this from my cousin, but so she got married, and he was, at one point, he was in an army. Well, he rejoined the army and overthrew the queen. So my great-great-great-grandmother was not happy about that, and she cursed my great-great-grandma. Drama, right? It's not even the 1900s yet, and drama. So, Christ. This is the shit we got to deal with. So, so now I get to remove a curse from my family, because it's like, great. Because, what people don't understand is when you curse people, you're letting it travel. If you do not make it very specific to this person, it is going to travel through the line. And I know many of you don't believe in that, and that's okay. That's fine. But I do, and it's not cool. Not cool, Melihipa. Not cool at all. But here's the thing. I know one thing that Melihipa and I would have agreed on is the fact that you don't remove Hawaiian curriculum from a place that's there for Hawaiian children. That was the whole point. I mean, what's the point of having the school and putting all these people on the board if they're going to change it? So I'm very proud of Aunty Nona for doing this, but it also reminds us to stand up for what we believe in, to not just be silent and sit on the sidelines and wait for change. Sometimes you have to be the change. Sometimes you have to be the person that says, you know what, I'm done. I'm not taking any of this anymore, and stand up and get something going. This is one woman who rallied a bunch of people. Her letter could have just fallen on deaf ears. Because here's the thing, nobody was paying attention to what was happening, which is why it was able to happen. And the people that were paying attention were being threatened. Their jobs were threatened. Their scholarships were being threatened. You got to pay to go to this school. But also, again, they give out the scholarships. So, because it is also it's dorm life. There are kids who go there who, it's kind of like a boarding school in a way. There are kids who go there from around the country to learn their heritage, and it's 4 years. So, and it's, like I said, I was only there for a week, and it was, even though it was rough the first day because I was so shy, I was so quiet, and, I'm not only am I far away from home, I'm far away from my grandparents who live like 20 minutes away from this place, but it was very unfamiliar for me. I was like I said, I was very shy. I cried my first day. But here's the thing. A lot of kids, when you cry your first day and they see it, they will make fun of you. They will tease you. These kids rallied around me. These were my people. I mean, my Hawaiian people. I have lots of people who are not even Hawaiian. I just had people, and I love my people. But they rallied around me, and they made me feel comfortable. They made me feel better. And by day 2, fine, absolutely fine. But yeah, if, even though this was years later, there are kids who are still able to go to this camp in the summer. And thanks to Aunty Nona, this is still a thing. I have, my cousin's kids have gone here. One of them is still there. And the other one has graduated in college. You should be getting out of college pretty soon. Lord have mercy, where does the time go? But anyways, so yeah, anyway. And I'm not sure how many people know about this. So if you're a random Hawaiian watching this, check into it. The Camp School's summer camps. Oh God, I forgot what it was called. Explorations. It's Camp School's Explorations. And, my mom did have to show my birth certificate to show that I do have Hawaiian blood. And like I said, to me that's a sticking point for me, because there's a lot of people that are born in Hawaii who just feel Hawaiian. They live the culture. They breathe the culture. They are the culture. But because they don't have lineage, they may be the ones that have to pay to go. I don't know. But they couldn't go to these camps, and I mean, I have a smidge of Hawaiian, believe it or not. I only tan well because my mom was Filipino, but my mom was born there, she was raised there, and she breathed that culture. And when my parents moved here, when I was a baby, to California, they brought it with them. They brought that culture with them. We lived that culture in this house, and they joined a Hawaiian club so that they could continue on with other people who, were from the islands, people, that you could visit with, that you could be with, to remind yourself of where you came from. And, it's just a shame that when she was a kid, she would not have been able to go to this. So again, I don't know if this has changed since then, but I'm all about inclusivity. And I know that when the will was first made, it was to make sure that the children remembered. Because see, when the government was overthrown, it's kind of like Scotland in a way. Kilts are banned, right, in Scotland. The Gaelic language was kind of banned. And I'm just kind of speaking to what minimal I've read, so I don't know the whole history. But, a lot of the culture was stifled. It was quieted. And so in secret, people did these things, and it's kind of the same way with Hawaii. It's the Hawaiian language was banned. The hula was banned. And there were people that said, fuck you. This is our culture. We're not going to let it die. We're going to keep it going. We're going to make it live. And at some point, it is going to find its roots again. And it's going to sit on the world stage. And it does now, because you have the Merry Monarch Festival every year, right? Where, halaus compete. They dance. I mean, they dance, and I think they compete in their own way. But you get to see several days of just, expression, Hawaiian culture at its finest and at its most finely tuned, because, you got to be some pretty badass people to get into the Merry Monarch. But, it's even on Saturday for, my cousin brought me to, Pacific Islander Heritage Celebration night. And, you see the Haley's Review, Polynesian Review, and they're, it's Tahitian, it's Hawaiian, it's Maori, it's everything. Because the Hawaiian culture isn't just the Hawaiian culture. The Hawaiian culture, it expands Polynesia. It's a representation. It's one of the few representations. The Samoan dances, the Maori dances, the Tahitian dances, the Hawaiian dances, the chants, the Hawaiian chants, which those are my favorites. But they're a part of us. And they're, and for anybody who explores the Hawaiian culture, and for anybody who, dives into the Hawaiian culture, I have friends that are moving to Kauai that are just, to me, I always joke with them and say, you are way more Hawaiian than I'll ever be. And I admit, I am trying to get back into my roots. I really am. And I'm going to side topic here for a second, because one of the reasons I really kind of stepped away from my Hawaiian roots, even though I've always been proud of them, I'm not ashamed of them. I've always been proud of them. But one of the reasons I leaned more into my Irish roots, which is hilarious because I actually have more more English than I have of Irish. But my great-great-grandparents were from Ireland. Great-great-great-grandpa. Something like that. Back in the early 1800s, before he migrated here from Ireland. But I think part of it is because when people found out I was Irish, it was like, hey, you don't look it, but we believe you. But whereas when I was in Hawaii, you get a lot of flack, because I was always, I was either called a haole or, which, they just say, well, it's just a term used to, for what we call mainlanders. And it's like, no, it became kind of rude. It became very derogatory, and it's like, and I know most people don't use it in that term, but I had people around me that did. And I had one person in particular who was related to me that did that all the time. They made me feel like I did not belong in the place where I was born, in the heritage that I was growing up in. And on top of everything else that I had to deal with in my life at that time, I just felt like I wasn't enough, like I wasn't a good enough Hawaiian. And so I started walking away from my heritage. And it is my heritage. I've never been to the Philippines. I'm half Filipino, but I don't know squat about the Philippines. I have 3 friends who are very well connected to the Philippines who were teaching me how to be Filipino. Because I grew up in the Hawaiian culture. I grew up, it kind of the Asian Hawaiian culture. The Hawaiian culture grabs from a lot of different cultures, grabs from the Asian culture, it grabs from the mainland culture, it grabs from a lot of different things. And of course its own culture, which is kind of the baseline, right? But I just felt like I didn't belong. And so now, as I'm reading, I was reading my cousin's book. She wrote a book, my cousin Dia Kaipo, Kaipo, called Somahula. It's basically healing through movement, physical, body, mind, and spirit healing. It's somatic. It's somatic therapy, but it's with hula, and she has the descriptions in there. You don't have to be a hula dancer to know how to do this. You just follow the guides, and it kind of, she's worked very hard on this, and I was very proud of her. But there was a lot that I found out that I did not know about my own family, and I was like, wow, wow. And it was kind of wild because, you think you know something and it's just like, oh, you're Hawaiian. And, in school, a lot of people seemed impressed by it. And I think that's why sometimes it felt like, oh, yeah, I'm cool. But then you go back and you realize that, that you just kind of get pushed aside and you get made fun of because you don't sound local. So, yeah, I think because that's one of the reasons why I just feel like I kind of walked away from my own heritage. And I do feel bad about that because I'm proud of every single one of my nationalities, all 5 billion of them. Muddy and I always joke. That's why she's Muddy. We call each other Muddy because we're mutts. And it just, it was just something we joked about years ago when we first met, and it's just become our nickname since then. So, but yeah, I mean, I told her, I said, we're like the United Nations. We are literally the United Nations. But, and I know a lot of people have a lot of nationalities, but I think at last count, I have about 9. I even have African American. But you know that because of my great-great-grandpa who helped overthrow the government. Christ. So much drama. So much drama. Like my makeup bag literally says, it has baby Grogu on it just saying me watching the drama unfold. And that's how it feels like. But anyways, so I guess kind of adding on to standing up for what you believe in. Stand up for who you are. Be proud of who you are. It took me decades. And yeah, you can still hear the anger. Yes, Muddy, that's why we have curly hair. She says, I have African too. Oh, speaking of which, total side note, I'm squirreling. So Sibling and I went to go see the Barbie movie, whatever year it came out, 2 years ago. And there was a gentleman behind us from, he was a transplant from Ghana. And he was there to see Oppenheimer. And it was so funny because I guess he was flirting with me too. But, it was warm because it was summer. So I was wearing I was just wearing a dress. And he could see my honu, my turtle on my back, my Hawaiian turtle. I call it the Hawaiian turtle because that's the, I use the, excuse me. I use the symbol, the Hawaiian symbol for a honu, turtle. And so he's all like, oh, I like your turtle. I said, oh yeah, that's my honu. And he says honu. And I said, yeah, it's Hawaiian for turtle. And he's all, well, in Ghana, that's, it's also a proud symbol of the, the Ghana people. And I was like, really? Because I said, I actually have, Ghana heritage in me. I said, it shows up on my DNA test or DNA. I have Ghana DNA. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And so, we kind of talked about that for a little bit, but he says, yeah, it is, just like in Hawaii, it is a protector. And it is kind of, oh, thank you, older sibling. Oh, look at that. Muddy blessed me yesterday. Today, older sibling blessed me. But he said it's a symbol of protection and your spiritual ancestors, which is really the same as Hawaii. So, so there you go. There are 2 different nationalities running into each other with the same beliefs in certain things. So, but again, don't be ashamed of who you are. Don't be ashamed of where you come from, where who you're becoming. Just be proud of who you are. And if people try to bring you down, just ignore them. I don't know what was up his butt, my cousin. But whatever it was, it's like, as an older adult, I set boundaries. And, every so often he tries to run into those boundaries on Facebook. And it's like, nope, sorry. Because I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. I don't. And it's not just because of childhood. It's just even in adulthood. And it's just, I don't need that. I don't need that kind of, I just don't need that. I don't care if you're family. If you don't change, then you're never going to change. And I've changed over the years, and I've grown, and I've learned that setting boundaries is okay. And I've also learned that, I need to get back to my real roots, all my roots. I'm grateful. I always think that my mom put all these Filipinos in my path to make sure I learn my culture, because she never did. She couldn't teach it to me. She had no idea. My grandmother was also born in Hawaii. It was my great-grandmother that came from the Philippines and my great-grandfather, and even one of my grandfathers. But my mom and my grandma were born in Hawaii. So that was the culture they grew up in. That was the culture they knew. And that was the culture that was passed down to me along from my father, because my grandmother is my paternal, my dad's mom is where we get the Hawaiian from. So, yep, and my grandpa was from Illinois. I'm very global. But anyways, yeah, I mean, Illinois, yay, Illinois, right? So anyway, I know. So yeah, I'm rambling. I do apologize that this was kind of all over the place. Aunty Nona deserved better, but I do thank you for hanging in there. I don't know what's wrong with my brain today. I really don't. It just, it is squirreling so hard right now that I have no idea. I'm checking. Oh, I'm a little warm, so I think I'm having a hot flash. But anyways, I'm also thinking about my doctor's appointment, because I went to urgent care yesterday. That line was practically out the door. I'm not kidding you. It was 7 feet from the door. Okay, maybe 10 feet from the door. But I'm all like, no. So I made an appointment today to go see, some random doctor who's not my doctor. But yeah, so I think that's also on my brain, because my hormones are raging today. They are going nuts. So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. And like I said, follow your path. Fight for what you believe in and trust that path. And don't ever be ashamed of who you are. However you want to identify, however, you want to identify culturally, don't ever be ashamed, okay? Because who you are and who you were born as is a good person, an amazing person. And don't let anybody try to tear you down from that, all right? Your heritage is your heritage, and you should be proud of it, every single part of it. So, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelley Marie Lucas. We're doing self-care tomorrow. Self-care Wednesday. Self-care Wednesday's back. 1 week only. So, sort of. But anyways, yeah, we got some good stuff. It's something I posted on Facebook, but nobody's reading it. So I'm going to share it on the show so more people cannot see it. But... But anyway, I hope you have a great, great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Money, older sibling, I know Paul is gone already, and whoever was that third and fourth person on there, thank you for popping in, and I appreciate you, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.